I've gone through periods where my photography has plateaued and really struggled, and the whole process can be a little bit cyclical. But when I look back at my entire learning process so far, it's pretty easy to identify two things in particular that really helped me to level up my game, especially when I did those two things together. As much as I want this channel to be purely about the enjoyment of just getting out there and doing something creative, I also think part of that enjoyment is learning and getting better at it. And I think we all want to do this as quickly as possible. So we are naturally looking for the best and the fastest ways to do that. And it can be a little bit of a mess. That's why photography YouTube channels exist. So we can help each other with the mistakes that we've all made along the way. Last week I returned to Portugal for my holidays. I've lived there before for a few years. And of course going back made me think quite a lot of all the time I spent there. And in particular the photographs I took there and the photography I did while I was there. Now I started to realize that it was actually here that I did two things in particular that really helped me to improve really quickly. So today I want to talk about those two things while also showing you some photos and videos that I took last week, because honestly I think the photos and the videos on their own would probably bore you to death. And just before we start, I am very aware that I have not learned everything in photography yet. I am very aware of that, and I'm not saying anything of the kind. But it's more that these are just two things that I did that helped me a lot personally, and maybe that can help you too. In my opinion, the best way to improve quickly at any skill is to push yourself outside of your comfort zone when you're pursuing it. For me, that happened in Portugal. When I got to Portugal, I eventually found a job there as an in-house content creator. It was for a small business in the tourism industry, and anybody that's worked in the tourism industry will know how intense that can be, especially in the summer in Portugal. So my job was basically to create social media and website content that the company could use to promote themselves throughout the season. But to do this successfully, I had to push myself out of my comfort zone because, as I said, it was quite intense, but also it meant getting involved in a lot of different stuff that I hadn't done before, especially when it came to what it was that I was shooting. As is the nature of tourism, I had to interact with a lot of people. So straight away I learned how to deal with and talk to lots of different people while I was taking photographs of them, how to make people comfortable. I learned how to shoot video, which at the beginning was very uncomfortable. I had never taken any video before, and all of a sudden I was expected to produce video every single week. So basically there was a lot of different stuff going on, and I just had to jump at it. But by doing this, I really started to think a lot about what it was that I was shooting, and by putting myself into situations that I wasn't used to, I really started to notice that my overall skill and my photography in particular really increased like 100-fold. Now this is a pretty unique example. I'm very aware that this is not something that everybody can relate to. In fact, when it comes to this type of thing, pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone, it can be very different for different people. But there are lots of ways that you can do it also on a very everyday level. One way to do it right away is to set yourself a goal or a challenge and stick to it. For example, tell yourself you're going to shoot in a certain way for a whole month, or whatever it is that you want to improve on. Another way is to try new types of photography. I am a massive fan of this for beginner photographers. This is something that really worked very well for me. For example, you could try some portrait photography to learn how to work with models. This example in particular can be a very excellent way to gain more confidence or to learn how to work with other people when you're shooting. You could also try wedding photography. You could put yourself out there as a second shooter. This will really teach you quickly how to work under pressure and how to have the expectations of a bride and groom or people that are depending on your photography, and how to deliver results when you have that on you. You could even go a step further. You could offer your services to a local business. I mean, if you're still unexperienced enough, you could do it for free at the beginning. This one, again, will teach you how to deal with clients and work under pressure, but also it could really teach you how to think of the story of the business that you want to tell. So you can improve your storytelling really quickly. You start thinking more about it. And this is the key thing here. By pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone, by pushing yourself to do things you haven't done before, it forces you to think about what you're doing a little bit more, rather than just going around shooting the same thing on autopilot more. When you're uncomfortable, you're focusing more on what you're doing. And I really feel that this helps you improve your skill a lot quicker. And of course, the most simple way of all is to just look for feedback. It's not comfortable, not for any of us. None of us like to hear critical feedback or bad words about the work we do, especially when we put ourselves out there, but it is absolutely one of the very best ways to learn. So pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone is one thing, but the real superpower here is doing it consistently over time. It's one thing doing something uncomfortable once, taking the win and leaving it at that. But that won't do you much good in the long run. What we want to try and do here is build a little bit of momentum. The great thing about my job in Portugal was that it was in, as I said, the tourism industry. And that intensity really forced me to, it didn't give me a break. I had to continue to work every day and not think too much about the wins or the losses. Because it was a very go, go, go type of environment, it meant that we had to produce content all the time, no matter what. So that meant that even if the weather wasn't good, we still had to find something to shoot that day. We still had to find a way to promote the business. If something happened, like there was some hiccup with some of the events that we had planned, well, then we had to find something else that could work instead of that, for example. Either way, we didn't have the excuses to just not do it. The absolute best example of this for me when I was working there was that we had to produce a short promo video every single week for the guests that were staying. And sometimes, naturally, some of the weeks were a bit less eventful than others. And I was really just learning video at the time. So that meant that even on the dull weeks, I had to find something to film. It made me think more and more about my process and really just finding ways to get it done all the time. And that had to happen every week throughout the entire year. And guess what? Of course we did. We always figured it out. We always found a way to make a video. Of course, not all of them were as good as others, but we still found a way to make it work. So it wasn't just a case of pushing myself outside of my comfort zone. It was a matter of doing it over and over again and really building some momentum with it. And I think the momentum is what produces the magic here, because over time, what you start to see is an exponential type of effect with your progress. I found that with me personally, the wins and the learning just kept compounding over time, and I started to get better at a faster rate. So again, to bring this back to something that we can all do on a daily level, I think it's pretty simple. Just keep going, keep shooting, keep getting out there, and keep pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone. As we were talking about earlier, doing all these things like offering your services to weddings and businesses, it can be uncomfortable, and naturally you're going to have some losses with that too, and they can feel really not nice. So when you do have those, just find a way to not give up, to learn something from it, leave it at that, and then move on to the next thing. If your portraits suck, then fine. Take something from it. There's always something you can learn. Concentrate on that one thing the next time, and then do the same. Find one more thing to learn. And then over time, all of those things will compound, and you find yourself getting better very quickly. And the same thing applies to your challenges that you set yourself or the feedback that you get from others. Focus on the stuff that will make you better and just keep doing it. And in no time, you'll see amazing results. If you do want a small shortcut though, maybe you can see some of the mistakes that I made as a beginner in this video right here. You might be able to learn a thing or two from them. Thanks again for watching, and I'll be back with another video really soon.